In almost every police department, there's a place where cold homicide cases gather dust. Each box contains unfinished business, evidence, interviews, in its very own murder book. These cases aren't dead, but sleeping. Each one waiting for new leads, and a cop to dig out the truth, and finally bring a killer to justice. Largo, Florida. A laid-back beach town on the central Gulf Coast, where cutoffs and a Hawaiian shirt are the closest thing anyone has to formal attire. It's a place built for fun, an escape from the daily grind of the real world. But for one man, the seduction of the warm, carefree nights put him on a collision course with pure evil. Homicide Detective Joe Coyle, one of Largo PD's finest. A local boy. He started as a patrol cop, then moved to the SWAT team. Then, after 10 years, he knew in his gut the law enforcement job he most wanted.
One time I had to protect the scene, make sure no one goes in, then I watched all the detectives go in and work it. I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna sit out here. I want to be that guy that works the scene.
In 2000, he's promoted to detective, and soon gets a reputation as the guy who never stops until a case, hot or cold, is closed. Coyle's dogged determination catches the attention of Deputy Chief John Carroll.
Detective Sergeant Coyle.
Sir.
I thought I might find you in here.
In February 2003, John Carroll hands over a murder book to Coyle.
I got a favor to ask. I have been obsessed with this case for 17 years. Bill Costco.
Carroll remembers it like it was yesterday. It's the beginning of the long 4th of July weekend when Largo PD gets a 911 call.
Police emergency, may I help you? It's very confused around here right now. There's some blood on the floor in the apartment next door to me. I'm not sure what's going on.
At 2:30 a.m., Detective John Carroll is called to a nice neighborhood on the east side of Largo. A body has been discovered in an apartment building by one of the neighbors.
Videotaping crime scene.
Inside the apartment, a table lamp was knocked over.
Walking into the living room.
As I recall, the TV was still on. There was a shag-style carpeting, and there were pools of what appeared to be blood on the floor in the dining room, living room area.
Showing blood splatters on the walls.
Just looking around the room, you could see that there had been a struggle and somebody had been bleeding pretty heavily in that room. A bedroom door was slightly ajar, and I was able to look around the door and see an obviously deceased person on the floor, covered with blood.
The victim is a man who appears to be in his late 30s. His hands are tied behind his back with electric cord. His ankles are bound with a bedsheet and tethered to the leg of the bed.
You could see puncture wounds consistent with knife wounds to his upper body and his neck, and quite obvious that he'd been stabbed. It was clear from the scene that we were dealing with a homicide.
And the condition of the body tells Carroll this guy's probably been dead at least a couple of days. Police dust for prints and collect blood samples. On the door jamb, among the blood smears, police identify a full palm print. In addition to the palm print, police lift prints off the walls and furniture. They also bag small items the killer may have touched. What's conspicuously missing are the victim's wallet, his car keys, and the murder weapon.
There were no signs of a forced entry to the apartment, so that kind of ruled out that it was some sort of home invasion. So initially, I'm thinking this is somebody the victim knew.
By the time Carol gets back outside, cops are talking to the neighbor who called 911.
Officer?
The man tells them he noticed his neighbor's door was ajar, so he peeked inside. That's when he saw the blood and called them. He'd been watching the apartment since hearing something that caught his attention.
A couple nights ago, there were a couple guys shouting, and then I heard some guy holler, "Stop that, stop that."
When was that?
It was so loud, I wrote it down. See, June 30, just after 7 p.m.
Monday. So 3 days ago.
3 days ago, yeah.
Why didn't you call the cops?
None of my business.
The neighbor's not even sure who lives in that apartment, but he says after the loud argument, he saw a man leaving the complex in a hurry.
The neighbor described the person that he saw run down the stairs, but he only saw him from above. A white male, medium build, seemed to have a tan complexion. He looked somewhat disheveled. He had bushy, sort of dirty blonde hair.
Carol may have just gotten a description of the killer. But first, he needs to ID the victim. He doesn't have to wait long.
Hey.
Calm down. Who are you?
We're friends of Bill's.
Tim Jankowski and Luis Rodriguez say they live nearby and came over as soon as they heard the commotion. They tell police the dead man's name is Bill Costco.
We hadn't heard from Bill in 2 days. It's not like Bill not to call, you know? So.
Yeah, his line's been busy, and when we called the phone company, they said that the phone might be off the hook.
We decided to go check up on him pretty much around 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that's weird. It's open? Bill? Bill? It's Tim.
Oh, Jesus. I was very scared. I saw the dark stain in the dining room. And when I saw that, I knew that had to be blood. It couldn't be anything else.
Bill? There?
Let's call the cops.
Quick. Go.
Carol's hoping that Bill's friends can help him get a handle on who Bill Costco was and why someone would have murdered Bill with that much brutality. They've been friends with Bill for close to a year, long enough to know where he came from and how he ended up in Largo. Bill Costco was born in Utica, New York in 1948. He had a younger sister and the kind of small-town carefree life typical of the baby boom generation. After college, he headed for the bright lights of New York City, with dreams of working backstage on Broadway. 15 years later, he still hadn't made it. So at the age of 38, he gave up trying. That's how he ended up in Largo, where he met Tim and Luis.
I guess I just hope for the big time, you know, but New York City, it's just a rat race. When my folks got this little winter place down here, I figure, I mean, I love how laid back it is all the time.
I know, the beaches, the weather, I mean, it's so addictive.
That's right.
Are you folks down here now?
I mean, just in the winter, you know, but I talk to him a lot. I just don't see him that often, you know?
Tim and Luis immediately liked Bill's easygoing nature, and the three became fast friends.
What stood out the most to me about Bill was he'd give you the shirt off his back and if he had it. There were times when I needed a favor from him, and he'd do it. Never asked questions, and always was there when you needed him.
But Bill's life wasn't as carefree as he would have liked. He struggled landing a full-time job.
You think I can borrow a couple of dollars until next week?
How much?
10?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much.
The two friends didn't care about Bill's money troubles, and they tell police they're certain that's not why he ended up dead. But they believe they know how he came to be murdered. Tim and Luis tell Carol that Bill had a dangerous weakness for meeting strange men in bars.
All right, let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
You know, we tried warning him to be more careful about who he brought home with him. But he didn't heed our warnings.
Now Bill's dead. And if his friends are right, there's a predatory stranger on the streets of Largo out cruising for his next kill. Carol puts out a bolo. Be on the lookout for the vehicle.
70s model.
Then heads directly to the medical examiner's office to get the autopsy results. The medical examiner confirms Bill has been dead for 3 days. He'd been stabbed to death.
He had multiple puncture wounds to his upper torso. His carotid artery had been severed. He had defensive wounds on his hands. The defense wounds occurred before his hands were tied behind his back. So this is something that wasn't an instantaneous death. Mr. Costco had fought for his life.
The question is, who would want to kill Bill Costco? Hoping for answers, Carol reaches out to Bill's parents and his sister, Barbara, back in New York.
Hello.
Hi, is this Mrs. Costco?
Yes, it is.
My name is Detective Carroll. I'm from the Largo Police Department. Unfortunately,
I have some bad news for you.
your son was the victim of a homicide recently.
What,
I'm so sorry that you have to hear this.
Bill's dead?
Bill's family is reeling from the news, shocked and devastated that Bill died in such a horrible way.
Did he ever have any enemies that you were aware of while he was living up there?
That might have followed him down to Largo.
No, he was a very well-liked person.
And in their grief, they're not much help to Detective Carroll. They have no idea who killed Bill or why. Bill never shared the details of his private life with his family.
Yes,
Everything I can. We will get this guy.
Carroll begins his investigation at the height of the July 4th weekend. He hits every bar in the area to see if anyone remembers seeing Bill 4 days earlier, on the Monday night they believe he was murdered.
These bars were quite busy at that time. A lot of people out and about. The regular patrons of the bar were pretty much all present, so it gave us a lot of people to talk to.
You recognize this guy?
Yeah, I do. He's a regular here. And I don't think I've seen him here this week. Yeah, but you know what? You can ask those guys over there, because they know better than I do. They're here more often.
Although lots of guys recognize Bill, No one remembers seeing him on Monday. Carol works day and night to find a lead.
The more time that goes by in a case like this, the colder the trail gets, obviously. But this was a whodunit. So you're just beating the bushes trying to find somebody that knows something.
Since the killer has a 4-day head start, he also widens his search to include towns nearby. He strikes out everywhere. Three days later, Carol gets a call from a patrol cop in the town next to Largo.
A police officer on routine patrol notices a car in a parking lot. The windows are down in the car, and it had just rained the night before, so he thought that unusual.
I'm gonna get a license plate check on New York plates. Lima, Pop-Off, Romeo.
The plates are registered to Bill Costco.
What have we got?
Take a look for yourself. It's a gold mine in here.
Inside the car, a crime scene investigator finds Bill's car keys, his empty wallet with ID, and underneath the front seat,
bingo,
a bloody jackknife.
Let's make sure we get that over to blood matching.
A few days later, the lab results come back. The blood on the knife is Bill Costco's. But there are no readable prints on it, and the ones from Bill's apartment don't offer up a suspect either.
We lifted 49 prints from the apartment, 9 of which are unidentified. The rest are Bill Costco's and friends that we know about.
What about the bloody palm print?
Well, the blood was Bill Costco's, but the print itself is actually one of the 9 unidentified.
Based on Bill's friend's interview, Carol thinks Bill most likely met his killer at a bar nearby. So he rechecks every watering hole in the area, whether Bill was known to go there or not. It's a grueling process.
Why don't you take another look? This is pretty serious.
Yeah, I recognize him.
Was he here with anyone?
Yeah, some seedy, like drunk, homeless guy.
Can you describe him?
Yeah, he had blonde, shaggy hair.
And there's something else that stood out about him. He had a bandage on his arm.
Did he say what the bandage was for?
He said he got in a fishing accident.
And I was working on a fishing boat, hooked up a mother of a fish, man. I got him in the boat, and it bit me.
That sounds very scary.
Yeah, man.
The bartender draws a sketch of the man.
It was pretty crude, but it just gave us something to show to witnesses to say, could this resemble the person you're talking about?
Yeah, I was super drunk.
The sketch works. Other customers remember seeing the blonde fisherman.
And he had the big bandage on his arm. It was all dirty and everything, too.
Where was he fishing?
Tarpon Springs.
Carol follows up on the lead and heads to Tarpon Springs. First thing he does is check in with his buddy at the local PD, who remembers a guy who got hurt on a boat.
I found him wandering around town. He was bleeding, really out of it. So what I did is I picked him up and took him to a hospital.
Do you know where he went after the hospital?
Well, he said he had no money, no friends, so what I told him is to go to the homeless shelter in Clearwater. That's the last I heard of him.
Carol races to the shelter on the slim chance the guy's still there.
Yeah, he was staying here.
Is he here right now?
No, I had to kick him out. He came in after curfew. He was loaded. I think he left yesterday.
Did you get his name?
James Donovan Morgan.
Did he say where he was going?
No, but if your got his boots here, you want them?
Given the amount of blood at the scene, he would have had trace evidence on him.
Detective Carroll immediately sends the boots over to the state crime lab for analysis. While he waits for the results, he runs James Donovan Morgan's name, and wouldn't you know it, he pops right up. He's 33 years old and has done time for burglary, theft, and assault. His most recent arrest was in Boulder, Colorado.
I need the prints of James Donovan Morgan.
In 1986, the only way to get the material quickly is to have it hand-carried and flown in. A day later, Carroll has a copy of the prints from Colorado. Inside the envelope is a bonus. Morgan's mugshot. The resemblance to the sketch of the blonde fisherman Costco was seen with is unmistakable.
Take a look at this.
Looks like you got your guy.
Everything's matching, and we have high hopes that the forensic evidence is going to identify him at the scene.
Carroll submits Morgan's prints for comparison to the 9 unidentified prints from the murder book. He tracks down James Morgan Donovan, and unbelievably, he's still in the area doing odd jobs at a local country club and crashing in one of the maintenance shacks there. Carroll keeps his #1 suspect under surveillance until the fingerprint tests are complete.
I was sitting in an unmarked vehicle with a pair of binoculars, watching him from a distance. He looked unshaven, he was a little dirty, hair was kind of long. He looked a lot like the sketch, I guess.
Three days later, the results come back. Morgan's prints don't match any of the 9 mystery prints from the crime scene, and there were no traces of blood on his boots.
At that point in time, I would have to say that I was suffering from that tunnel vision because everything seemed to fit. We're kind of riding that high of finding this needle in the haystack, this person who was in the bar with the victim. It was a significant letdown that we didn't have any forensic evidence to support that.
But sometimes the lab makes mistakes. And Carroll isn't ready to let go of his #1 suspect just yet. So he heads to the golf course to talk to Morgan.
Hi, James. I'm Detective Carroll from the Largo Police Department. You mind if I talk to you for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
You recognize this guy?
Yeah, I remember him.
He confirms that he was at the bar with Bill Costco on June 30th.
Yeah, we had a drink and then we went our separate ways.
I just interviewed him more like a witness because I really had no evidence to connect him to the crime.
You never went back to his apartment?
No.
You mind if I get a palm print from you?
Oh, yeah, sure. My hands are a little dirty, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, honestly, when he was so cooperative to the point of giving me palm prints and so casual about our conversation, my gut's telling me it's not him.
Two days later, the results from the palm print come back. It proves without a doubt James Donovan Morgan didn't kill Bill Costco.
So that means that the person that did do this is still out there, and now the trail has gotten cold. It's frustrating, and it's like go back to square one, start over.
Carroll doggedly works the case for 4 more years.
You know his name?
But he never gets past square one again.
Really don't know his name.
There's a certain sense of inadequacy there. It's like, what could I have done differently on the first day and the first hours to get on the right trail? It's a case that you carry around with you when it's unresolved, and it's kind of always playing in the back of your mind. You owe it to the victim and the victim's family to do things right.
In 1990, Carroll's promoted out of the Major Crimes Unit. The Costco case never stops haunting him. But with no new leads, the murder book goes back on the shelf, gathering dust, and waiting for that fresh set of eyes or that big break to breathe new life into it. Eight years after Bill Costco was killed in Largo, Florida, two young cops, Steve McMullen and Bill Shaw, are promoted into Largo's detective unit. The duo has a reputation for working 24/7 and thinking outside the box.
Bill knew the street and how to really talk to some people to get information. I knew the technical aspects of the forensic side, how to put the puzzle together. And there was no glory hogging or anything like that. We were a couple of guys who just wanted to get things done.
So they're tasked with tackling the cold cases in the department's murder book room.
We started looking at them, and the Costco case stood out.
Based on the brutality of the crime, the detectives are convinced this was not the killer's first or last rodeo.
We kept saying there's a way this person has not been arrested. There's just no way.
In the 8 years since Bill Costco was killed, police forensics have come a long way fast. By 1994, DNA testing is now allowing police to find and collect evidence that's invisible to the naked eye. And McMullen and Shaw are betting there's something in the murder book with the killer's DNA on it.
It's just what we need.
When DNA first came out, you know, that was, everyone was using it, and that was the greatest tool ever invented to help us.
They send the cigarette butts to the lab and turn their focus to the 9 unidentified fingerprints from the crime scene.
Back then, when John Carroll first got it, you had to have a suspect to compare it against the print. By the time we come in, we don't need a suspect, we have a computer.
By 1994, many law enforcement agencies have set up separate automated fingerprint identification systems, AFIS for short. But there's no centralized place that contains all the information.
Bill went out, and somehow, and I still don't know to this day, he came back with a list of all the AFIS systems in the United States and in Guam. I think we sent one to Germany too, now I thought about it.
Shaw finds over 100 different departments running their own fingerprint databases. That means the team has to create photo negatives of the prints and send each agency an individual request to see if they can match the 9 unidentified prints in the Costco murder book.
We started getting letters from the agencies that we had made submissions to saying that the negative needed to be 5 times its original size, and then an agency would need 2 times the original size. It just got to be a nightmare. And that's where the frustration came in. It wasn't uniform. You're doubling and tripling, sometimes quadrupling your work, because you don't know until you send it.
McMullen and Shaw hammer away at it. Their mindset, somewhere, somehow, they're gonna get a hit.
We're going to identify the person that did this. We are highly confident. The prints made us really highly confident.
Over the next several months, dozens of responses trickle in, but they don't get a single hit.
Another negative. McMullen.
And when the DNA results from the cigarette butts come back, there isn't enough material to create a profile, let alone make a match.
It's frustrating, very frustrating. 'Cause it doesn't happen that often that you have that good of evidence on a cold case. We were baffled and disappointed because we are both convinced that this is not a one-time offender. They have done some other crime.
For the next few years, the detectives look for another way into the case and come up empty. In 1999, Bill Shaw is promoted to sergeant and put back out on patrol. Steve McMullen retires in 2001, and Bill Costco's murder book goes back on ice again. But no one in the department ever forgets it, especially John Carroll, the case's first detective, who's now deputy chief.
How are you? Still at it, I see, sir, you know?
So when Carroll realizes he has a hot new investigator in-house, he hands off that murder book to Joe Coyle.
He had a knack for cold case, a good investigator, familiar with current technology on forensics. He had worked on and solved a number of violent crime cases over the years.
By now, the FBI has consolidated the individual police fingerprint systems into one central database. But when Coyle resubmits the 9 prints from the murder scene...
No match?
Try the next page.
That's what was frustrating. It's like, no, this guy's got to be out there. I mean, you just don't do that and not have a criminal history.
Coyle is pulled to work on urgent ongoing investigations. One by one, he solves them. But everywhere he goes, he's reminded of Bill Costco's murder book. The one case he just hasn't been able to crack.
Coyle here.
This is the Texas Department of Public Safety.
This is Jill Kincaid.
And who is this again?
Jill Kincaid.
The Jill Kincaid?
Jill Kincaid is a well-known fingerprint specialist. In fact, in the world of law enforcement, she's got a rep for being a fingerprint phenom. She tells Coyle she's got a thing for cold cases. And with old records coming online every day, she held on to the prints from the Costco murder book since McMullen and Shaw originally sent them. Every so often, she'd run them. And finally, her persistence has paid off.
Jill got 3 hits. It was the middle finger, ring finger, left thumb.
All the viable prints came from a coffee mug collected at the crime scene and finally matched someone in the national database.
I think I'm about to make your day.
Your prints belong to
A shoplifter arrested in West Palm Beach, Florida in 1978. His name is Jeffrey Scott Thomas.
Detective Joe Coyle immediately springs into action.
What have you got for me on Jeffrey Scott Thomas?
He enlists the help of Special Agent Sharon Fiola at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. She can track a criminal's past like nobody's business.
When I typed in Jeffrey Scott Thomas with the date of birth, what came out of the Florida Crime Information Center was a criminal history of Jeffrey Scott Baker with that date of birth and that Social Security number. And the Jeffrey Scott Thomas was listed as one of his aliases.
He has 13 aliases in all. Coyle immediately runs a background check and finds this guy's basically a career criminal. He has a rap sheet dating back to 1973. And he's been in and out of the pen for drug dealing, burglary, assault, and bank robbery.
He had 14 arrests that ranged literally from Florida to California. So right there, what does that tell you? He's a transient. And people like to come to Florida, you know, because it's nice and warm and everything. So yeah, this guy matched everything to a T right now.
Agent Fiola is able to cut through all the aliases and come up with the guy's real name, Jeffrey Scott Payne. She learns Payne was born in Minnesota in 1955. He was the only boy in a family of 4 kids. His father was in the Air Force, so they moved around a lot. Jeffrey was always bullied for being the new kid in town, and he became withdrawn. At 16, he ran away from home and began drifting from one low-paying job to the next. At 20, he was busted for robbery. And so began his life of crime.
Given the fact that he had that many aliases, and he was transient. He never laid his head anywhere for very long. He's traveled all over the United States. He probably really didn't care whether he got caught or not.
Coyle and his team contact every police department listed on Payne's rap sheet.
I want everything, you know, especially a photo. You got to remember, you got 13 aliases, okay? And I want to make sure that all 13 of these people is the same person. If I got a mugshot that came back that was different from another one, it's not the same person. Now I'm going to start running the problems. So I wanted every fingerprint, I wanted every mugshot.
As the information pours in, Coyle's heart is racing. It's the same man in all the photos. He's got shaggy blonde hair, just like Costco's neighbor originally told police. And when they run the prints, they come back as matches to not just the coffee mug, but to many of the other unidentified prints in Costco's apartment. But the case is far from a slam dunk.
You got to remember, at this point, all I have is fingerprints. And all these fingerprints say is that Jeffrey Scott Payne was inside the apartment. That's it. But it is not enough to say that he's the one that did this crime.
Coyle knows if Payne's the killer, there's one thing in that murder book that can absolutely nail him.
It was a palm print in blood, and the blood belonged to Mr. Costco, and the palm print did not belong to Mr. Costco. So the killer had to have been there and got Mr. Costco's blood on him and then make a print onto the door jamb.
Coyle scrambles to see if any of Payne's arrests included a palm print. He's in luck. Back in 1982, Payne robbed a bank in Washington State and got caught.
Now, bank robbers, it goes federal, and they do palm prints. So that was my ace in the hole.
On March 29, 2004, Coyle receives copies of Payne's palm prints from FBI headquarters. He personally drives them to the forensic lab for comparison. Ten days later, the results come in.
Detective Coyle.
Detective Coyle, this is Jim down in Forensics. We've got some results for you.
What do you got for me?
I think you're gonna like this.
I was at my desk and said that palm print that you gave us from the FBI, Jeffrey Payne, matches the bloody palm print that was found in the scene. You know, it was one of those where were you when it happened type moments.
After 18 years, Coyle can finally put together exactly what happened the night Bill Costco was murdered. Bill had been out at the local bars. That's where he met Jeffrey Payne. They hit it off and headed back to Bill's place.
It's too hot out here. Let's sit inside.
Yeah, sounds good.
But something went wrong between the two men.
What are you doing? Stop! 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 What are you doing? Stop! Hey! Stop! Stop!
Was he mad because of a sex act that went wrong or something? I don't know. Did he want the car? He's a criminal. I think he just robbed him.
But even though Bill had been stabbed multiple times, he still had some life in him. To make sure Bill stayed put, Payne tied his hands and tethered him to the bed. When Payne was certain Bill wasn't going anywhere, he grabbed Bill's car keys and took off into the night. A few hours later, Bill Costco was dead. All that's left to do is track down Payne and make the arrest. Coyle's handcuffs are burning a hole in his pocket. All he needs from Sharon Fiola is an address. That's when everything comes to a screeching halt.
Sharon calls up and she goes, I think Jeffrey Payne is dead. I'm like, you're kidding me. She goes, no, he died in 1993 in California.
Not only is Payne dead, he's been cremated.
I call up the coroner's office and I'm praying that they have fingerprints, because if they have fingerprints, I could take those fingerprints and match them to the fingerprints we have from Jill Kincaid that matches the palm print. Then I'm done. I can go back and go have a good night's sleep. Of course, police work being what it is, I'm sorry, sir, we have no fingerprints. Are you kidding me? No fingerprints. You have photographs? No photographs. I'm like, oh. So now I can't even take a photograph and say this is the same person. All I know is I got a dead body and no fingerprints, no photograph. Of course, now I'm like thinking, oh God, is this even the same person now? I mean, this guy's committed bank robberies, this guy's committed murder, and with this many aliases, he could have faked his death. So my next step basically is I need to find out who this next of kin is, and I need to go interview this next of kin, and I need to show this next of kin a photograph. And the photograph I have is of Payne from one of his arrests.
According to the records, Payne died in hospice care at the home of his sister, Kathy Johnson. Detectives quickly tracked down Kathy's new address in South Carolina. Joe Coyle and Largo detective Keith Barton are on her doorstep the next day.
Hi.
Kathy?
Yes?
We're with the police department. We wanted to know if we could speak with you about your brother, Jeffrey.
What do you want with my brother, Jeffrey?
If you know that you're going to drop the bomb on him, that, by the way, we think he was responsible for a homicide. It wasn't a great feeling.
What about my brother?
We have overwhelming evidence that your brother is responsible for a 1986 murder in Largo, Florida.
He died in '93. In my arms of AIDS.
I have a photo of your brother. Can I show it to you? And, oh yeah, that's Jeffrey. And right there, that's it, case done. She was visibly upset. You know, and I felt bad, and Keith felt bad too. I said as nice as I could, and I didn't go into details, and she didn't ask.
It was bittersweet. On the one hand, you could close the case, but on the other, you just dropped something that lady will never forget, on her. So she didn't deserve that either.
You don't get to solve many cold case homicides as a detective. So it was nice to say, hey, now you can go scratch that off, man, it's done. Everything goes back to the crime scene. Well, if they didn't pull up the bloody palm print, then McMullen and Shaw would not have sent off the prints. We wouldn't be here right now. So everything goes back to that crime scene and having the, frame of mind to make sure, hey, this is a clue.
Jill Kincaid caught the killer, not us. All I know is the analyst in Texas got him, and she kept him, and she is the one that did it. It still just blows me away that this person hundreds of miles away would take the time to do that for a 1986 homicide. She had no tie to this community. She had no tie to this state. This was outside her jurisdiction, but she took the extra time, the extra mile. The fortitude and the foresight to do this is unbelievable to me, to do it for this city. She's a star, plain and simple.
Basic things that were done at the crime scene by me and by many others ultimately contributed here, but it was the hard work of people that came behind me that closed the case, so that makes me very proud of this agency. Would it have been satisfying to see him arrested and sentenced for committing this crime? Sure. At least the mystery has been solved.
A lot of police departments in the area at the time
were very homophobic. That's not the way they handled it here. I think the Largo Police Department handled everybody involved very well. The detective staff that I spoke to treated me with the utmost kindness and respect. I think Bill would be satisfied with the way his case was handled.
Jeffrey Scott Payne, who was responsible for the murder, was not a nice person. He was a person that seemed to commit crime and criminal acts wherever he went and probably hurt a lot more people than we're aware of. He'll have to answer to his God at the very end of this all.
I'm a little more philosophical than that. I think no one ever gets away with it. He didn't get away with murder. He lived a horrible life. He was a transient drug addict, criminal, you know, he was a criminal. I mean, he never probably had a really happy day of his life. So, did he get away with murder? No.
Days after Bill Costco's murder book was finally closed, Joe Coyle gets a letter from Bill's sister, Barbara.
Dear Investigator Coyle, I am writing on behalf of my parents, Mr. and Mrs. William Costco Sr. I told them all of the work that you have done to solve my brother's murder case, and that you did discover the person responsible for his death. My father had tears in his eyes, and my mother, who has never fully gotten over his loss, was very happy to know this person has paid for taking her son's life. I just would like to express my sincere thanks to you for the work and time that you put into this case. We are eternally grateful.
Yeah, honestly, you can give me $1 million, you give me that letter, I'll take that letter all day long.